we do. We're not hoarding any of this information. We want everybody to know what's going on. We want everybody winning. Anyone losing money doing this stuff is not doing any good for us. So where were you headed next, Mr.
Well,
Thompson?
I was headed somewhere else, and then those two phenomenal pieces came in. So I just want to give a quick shout out to
first, seconds, performing, non-performing? What the f***? Note buyers, when it seems like you're in this business alone, know Chase, Robert, and the rest of their tribe are at it every week. They're bringing updates from their own note businesses as they work to find, fund, and finish deals. Follow along as they share their grassroots education with you, tuition free. If you'd like to know more about what they do and to download the entire back catalog, check out NoteMBA.com. Now, here are your hosts, Chase Thompson and Robert Woods.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Note MBA podcast, your home for note investing on iTunes. I am Chase Thompson, joined as always by Mr. Robert Woods. Mr. Woods, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good.
You're good. We had a little pre-show talk. I asked how it was, and I mentioned it in last week's Insider newsletter, which, by the way, if you listen to our show and you're not on the Insider newsletter, what are you doing with your life? Go jump on the Insider newsletter. But I mentioned you were touring the globe, touring the Atlas, as it were, and I wondered how that was going, and it seems like you got your legs aren't quite under you with this trip as they have been in the past. What's going on?
It's going well. I think I'm just tired. I've had sometimes you got to balance work and personal life, and I'd rather just work.
I think I know enough of our listeners that you're reading some people's mail with that comment. Sometimes it's just a little easier to deal with professionals and no emotions, right?
Yeah, but I would, I love Michelle to death. She's made a huge impact this year on my life, and she would tell me that the fact I can make that statement is the direct reason it's something that we need to be focusing on. So there we go. In the problem lies the solution.
The obstacle is the way. I love it. A little shout out to a great book by Mr. Ryan Holiday.
So I'm going to jump in on something real quick because we got it. And the reason I'm out here in Las Vegas is I've got a property out here that I bought when I was, I don't know, my early 20s, mid 20s in Las Vegas in downtown. It's a nice little loft. It's just under 2,000 square feet, a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It was the quintessential bachelor pad for me when I lived between LA and Las Vegas. And it has been vacant for like 3 months because I just haven't had time to deal with it, which is horrible because literally I'm just spending money on nothing every month. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm running some numbers, if I should rent it or if I should sell it, to love it or list it. And the value of selling it would bring me a decent amount of cash that will allow me to go out and work on another multifamily project, which is not notes, but is definitely something I'm spending some energy on right now. And then before I got to Vegas, I was also in Kansas City, and we looked at a couple, actually 3 lots that a good friend of mine owns up there that we want to build some stuff on, and then also looking at some multifamily projects. So I'm looking at freeing up the cash. The other catch to it is keeping it as a rental. It's a break-even rental, so my benefits aren't really cash, but I do get the amortization of the mortgage, and I'm getting, a little bit of a write-off on the interest expense. And then also the fact I already have that loan in place, and it's just been a pain doing a refinance on it with self-employed income because of the million pieces of paper they want me to provide to them. So it's kind of the easiest route. So we're going to do like a Survey Monkey on Friday. So I'm curious to get some feedback. But any of you guys who have my email address, which is a good few handfuls, if you got an opinion, feel free to weigh in. I'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. So if you're not already on the Note MBA Insider email, you can't weigh in on the Survey Monkey. So jump on and weigh in. I want to know what you guys think Robby should do. And I assume you'll be documenting this of some sort?
Yeah, I'm going to shoot a video that we can just do a link to.
Cool. That'd be awesome. I can dig that. Is it, without like tipping the scales either way, for you, is it really kind of 50-50?
Yeah, so here's the truth of it. I think I have an emotional attachment to this. It's not a business decision, which is why I've had trouble doing it. It at the time was the nicest property I'd ever owned. I was working a ton. I went and bought it. I love it. I've got a pool table, a beautiful, beautiful pool table for my dining room table, and some good artwork, nice big screen TV, and it's just in a really cool spot. So I have the emotional attachment to it as opposed to ever buying it to cash flow. It's kind of one of those properties you buy and you're like, oh, I'm going to just keep this forever just because. Well, then you start looking at spreadsheets and I go, we could take that cash out and I'm not making anything on that equity right now. And to be able to get that, take it out. The challenge is looking at the long term, to be honest. None of us have a crystal ball. And I think I can be, because of where the property is at and the type of property it is, I'm not worried about having it be a well occupied long term rental, because it's a fairly unique property. So that won't be the challenge. But I'll gain from the amortization. We might see a little bit of appreciation. But, we can take some of that cash out. If I go make, 15% on the money or even 10%, I'm making more a year in actual cash flow off that equity from selling it than I am off of holding for the long term.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Very cool.
I have, some other unique properties in the portfolio that we know about that aren't quite as nice. I don't want to say high end, but the more expensive the property, the less my rental yields seem to be. So it's a project I'm trying to figure out right now.
I like that. It's a lot like restaurants. You just posted that photo the other day of being at that really nice steakhouse. I found out the other day that the nicer the restaurant, the smaller the margins. And restaurant margins are already pretty small, especially if it's like a new kind of concept place. A lot of people think when you're paying all that money, like sometimes there's, they're pocketing a lot of that. Anyway, just kind of an interesting corollary. Real quick update. We mentioned a couple shows ago that we were thinking of maybe having a tax guy or girl, CPA, kind of come on the show and talk a little bit about stuff. And we actually had a listener, a regular listener to the podcast, Jason Dixon, gave a shout out to a CPA who also happens to have a podcast. So I am going to, he says that this gentleman is a big promoter of real estate investing, self-directed plans, all of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to reach out to this CPA and potentially get him to jump on the show. So I'm really jacked for this to be a part of the show.
All right.
I feel like this will be one of our, kind of quintessential shows coming into the new year. It'll have a ton of downloads. I'm seeing some interesting trends on the back end of people listening to shows about like which ones really take and which ones really get some run. And I think that would be one that would absolutely fit the bill on that. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Oh, speaking of that, dude, I'm fantastic you just said that, because this week I've gotten 2 emails from investors. One I did not follow up on because I read it and it was so good. I started and undid it. So I haven't even replied yet. The first one, though, Dave up in New Jersey, actually sent it to my other email address, sent me one on the contract for deeds because he was like, hey, I saw what you sent out, that you were in the podcast, that you're a dodo about it. So he hooked me up with a good attorney in Columbus for the contract for deeds. It was just a great little resource. And then a link, it says contractfordeed.uslegal.com/state laws. Oh, excuse me, state-laws. And we'll put that in the show. But it's basically each individual state laws for contract for deeds. And there's some unique, just like foreclosures, just like dealing with safe harbor for condos, redemption for taxes and tax deed sales. I mean, the nuances are outrageous. And I hate to be, I think that actually Jeff, who works for me, just went to Columbus and looked at these. At the price point we bought them at, I don't even care. So we'll be fine. We're definitely going to make money. But it's like one of these other things of, man, how much thinner should we be spreading ourselves or not? There's a lot of juice in these things, I think. But, man, the nuances are crazy. So that's a little benefit. But I got an email, I'm just going to read it out loud, also about the contract for deeds from Earl Green, which is interesting. And he was just talking about some of the other things that happened. He said he's bought 5 of these in the last 5 months and has found some unspoken nuances. As a diligent researcher, you're probably already aware of them. But if not, hopefully these save you some time and trouble. Well, Earl, I will be honest that you saved me time and trouble. My diligent research was, in reality, an experiment, not a research project. It's research on the back end, and it was an experiment on the front end. But talking about the way some of the eviction clauses, there's different things that you've got. He says he's checked with them in Georgia, Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, and Alabama. The contract for deed gave the borrower equitable interest, and a foreclosure or similar action would be required. Louisiana's fast track of 45 days, but that's because it's similar to their bond for deed, which Louisiana, Jonathan Burden does a lot down in Louisiana.
Yes, he does.
Okay. One of the more prolific sellers has been sending quitclaim deeds signed by their attorney, but the power of attorney documents haven't been included. Some municipalities are recording the quitclaim deeds, but the quitclaim deeds are being challenged when they are reviewed by a closing attorney. Okay. Number 3, foreclosure may actually take longer in Georgia. My attorney warned me the agreement for deed didn't include a power of sale clause. Without it, foreclosure would become a judicial matter instead of the typical and faster non-judicial proceedings.
Oh, wow.
Item number 4, supposedly North Carolina has recently added some statutes regarding contract for deeds, but the language was unclear. The problems with the language could leave you without recourse if the borrower could not be located. He finishes just saying, I appreciate what you and Chase do with the podcast. It's only been in the space for a year. If you can be of any assistance, let us know. Earl, you've already been of huge assistance. You are down in Orlando. I owe you a beer, and the listeners thank you.
Wow.
I hope you don't mind me reading your entire email out loud. But thank you. Thank you for reaching out. And, we've got a great listener base now. It's so valuable when you guys know something that you can share with us. This is what we do. We're not hoarding any of this information. We want everybody to know what's going on. We want everybody winning. Anyone losing money doing this stuff is not doing any good for us. So keep helping us. We'll keep helping everybody else. And where were you headed next, Mr. Thompson?
Well, I was headed somewhere else, and then those 2 phenomenal pieces came in. So I just want to give a quick shout out to the community at large, the Note MBA community, the feedback, the emails. We had briefly touched on it. We had shared a really great Amazon link prior to my son being born a little over a month ago, and the audience poured in on that link and just sent my wife and I an amazing array of gifts for Milo, diapers and onesies and just toys and just so many great things. And some people didn't even include their names on some of the things that they sent.
Oh man!
And so we've got letters and things going out to everybody else. But this was as good a time as any in the middle of a show 99 to say huge ups to the Note MBA community, not only for the amazing real estate knowledge that just got dropped, but also the amazing, heartfelt, just incredible response that you guys had when it came to that particular thing. And I have no other way to say thank you than this particular show because, alas, so many people did not put their name on it, which is gracious, I'm sure, and wonderful and all that kind of stuff. So thank you all so much. So there's that. Moving on, just a tad to continue with the real estate talk, though. That's incredible. That email, especially that last bit about the recourse of sale or what have you, the clause on that. Wow.
North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina, right? So, or no, that was Georgia, I thought, because it would cause for the judicial, the non-judicial to become judicial.
Oh, so anyway. That's Georgia. Yeah, the other one was that you may not have recourse if you can't find the borrower.
Right,
so that's
right. Wow, that's killer.
You and I need to reread this stuff. Can
you send that to me so we can include some of that language in the show notes, which, by the way, can always be found at notemba.com. Thank you, Earl. That was incredible. A few other things that I wanted to touch base on. We're going to be having, like we've mentioned, a couple of interviews on the show, probably right on the other side of episode 100, which I'm very excited about. One of which is going to be with a company that does special servicing. So as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, everyone kind of has the concept of what servicing is wrapped up and really kind of understands that. Special servicing is the borrower outreach side of it. That tends to be, in my current experience at least, much more effective than any servicer outreach has been thus far. They just have an amazing ability to reach out to the current borrowers and get right party contact, and they understand the importance of and the nuance to all of this kind of stuff much more, in my experience thus far, than with just the traditional servicer. So we're going to have a special servicer come on the show, do an interview with us, basically talking about that initial borrower outreach, the timelines, and all the things that kind of go into that. And we're going to wait to kind of see how this current one shakes out that we have with them on a deal that we've got going on in Illinois. So it looks like it's going to be, unfortunately, at least a double or a triple as a first time out, which,
Nice.
is what it is. But I'm very gracious of that. But this idea of special servicing about having kind of that separate entity that, look, is part of the payout of getting a deal done, doing that borrower outreach in such a much more effective way. What is your experience with this, Robby? Have you done a lot of this? Is this something that you know a lot about?
Yeah, well, this one's unique. I did special servicing with FCI on a few of the loans. It's a different type of special, in my opinion. So I struggle with that a little bit, and I just went down to the $30 a month instead of $95, because the problem that I've had with the special servicing at FCI is I had one case where basically once you're in it with their attorneys, and they've gotten everything going, if you've got to foreclose, you're in for the long haul at that $95 a month. And I had one of these things drag out on like a $6,000 acquisition asset for like 2 years. So you spent $2,400 on servicing, not to mention legal fees and stuff like that. Now, it wouldn't be appropriate if I didn't say it was a great deal, because actually I'll talk about it in a second. It's the Danville, Illinois deal we're going to talk about at the end.
It is? Is it the same deal?
It is, and I'll pull up the numbers. I'll pull up the numbers while we're talking right now. But the special servicer that Chase is specifically talking about that we're going to bring on the show, I had the conversation with them that we weren't going to do anything on the show until we ran at least a handful of assets through them. So I've got 3 of them.
Oh, good.
One of them I was extremely impressed that they worked on. And what was interesting about it on my side of it is that I'm not getting any direct increase in my ROI from the special servicing, but the value of the information that they've gotten me and I have now is well worth every penny, with a huge return on the actual deal. I've got all the information on internal condition, everything else that I need, the contacts I need as soon as we finalize the foreclosure. They actually got the borrower is ready just to title the property over to me. So not a deed in lieu, but title it to a third-party entity for $1,000. That way I've got control over it. And I'm analyzing that right now to see if it makes sense, because we're going to have to do a little bit of repairs. I'm not sure how long it's going to hold up. Obviously, we're talking about Cook County, too, in Chicago. So that being able to get in there to do the remodel and everything else I need, because it's titled in my name, get the electricity on so it's show ready as soon as title records, the certificate of title's issued. I mean, there's a ton of value in there that's well worth a return on what I'm paying for the servicing. So I've been happy with the results so far. I want to run a few more assets through them, but I'm excited about it. I think it's the best thing that I've seen so far.
Very cool. That's awesome. So now that you semi-segued yourself already, what's up with the Danville property?
Dude, so this thing is kind of crazy. It's I bought it. Here we go. I bought it May 15th, 2014.
May 15th.
So
wow.
You can use your fingers on that one. It's 29 months.
Got to kick off my shoes, dude.
Well, it wasn't a horrible deal. So it was really unique. I paid $6,050 for the note, with servicing, foreclosure, and a trip up there. I'm into it for just under 13.5 right now. What was unique is that it had been a borrower that had filed a Chapter 7 on their debt but remained in the house. They just stopped paying the mortgage, and because it was such a low value property, got in the mix. Nobody touched it. Nobody did anything with it. So after his bankruptcy, he just stayed in the property. And I did meet the individual, the gentleman that had lived in there, and I talked to his attorney that's located in the area as well. And this is one we can't talk about the address or the name just because there's going to be a pending lawsuit. But in the meantime, while we've been finalizing the foreclosure, and there was really no control, I didn't do any other outreach because of the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The previous owner passed away. He was an older gentleman, so he passed away. The one kind of unique benefit from something that he had set up with his bankruptcy is that the county in Danville has not charged any interest or penalties on the outstanding tax balance of like $4,000, which is what it's accrued to. So I've not had to pay any penalties. So I was able to just write a check for that. And that was nice. Sometimes you get a little savings from that. But the property's worth probably about $55,000 right now. So not bad for being into it for $13,000 and it taking 2.5 years. It's still a decent ROI. It's not quite, well, after closing costs, it's not quite going to turn into a 100% annualized return, but I'll take it. The unique thing, though, is the borrower's attorney put a tenant into the property and signed the lease under the borrower's name. And once I contacted the attorney, apparently in the last 2 weeks, he's been like calling and threatening the tenant that's in there. And it's a single mom with 3 kids. And I told her, I was like, I want to sell the property or we can rent it to you, but I don't really want to keep a rental in Danville, Illinois. And she said that a guy probably had 10 cats that died in the house when he died. They were in the house, and after he died, they were and I'm talking 100 days dead cats, not like a week. So
wow.
This has been one of those good, unique situations. Honestly, we're making so much money on this deal. She emailed, we've been emailing back and forth, and I think she was really afraid as an investor or the new person I was going to go put her out and her kids. And she said she put some money into the property. The attorney that rented this property to her had told her that she would be able to do basically like a lease option or to be able to purchase the property. And she'd invested a little bit of money fixing up the place and cleaning it up from the deceased cats.
Yeah.
And it's just a really unique situation. It's kind of funny because we're going in and she was talking about winter and the holidays and she can't afford it. And it was kind of funny because I was talking to somebody the other day about some of the investors in the note business are always preaching how we just help people. That's all we do. And that's not all we do. You run into some people that are absolute jerks. And when I run into people that are absolute jerks, I don't care. I told you the other day, we had that guy down in Tampa a long time ago. I was like, listen, I can use my money to help you or use my money to fight you. You pick. But this was just a great conversation with this gal that's in the property. And I was like, hey, this is all you need to do. I was like, I promise you, I won't make you move out within a month. If we need you to move, I'll take care of your first months, your last months, and I'll hire movers. You won't have to do anything. The holidays are coming up. I was like, you don't need stress of thinking somebody's going to kick you out of your house. So I can promise you that. Just send me the check for the rent you were sending him, and we'll figure it out when I can get to Danville. I was like, you wanted to be in the property. You were paying rent. Just stay there. As soon as I can get up there, which will be in a month or so, we'll talk about it then, and it'll probably take 2 or 3 months to actually do something from there. So it was just a unique opportunity to see the fear that it gets brought up to the surface in some of the people that are ancillary victims of this housing situation that we're still working in. But it was just a unique thing to share.
Yeah, man, as long as you're not a garbage person, you're just not a terrible person. I mean, obviously there's tons of opportunity and you have those, like you said, those innocent bystander situations that just arise that you're able to come in and do some really good by some people. That's awesome, man. I love that. That's fantastic. Last thing I wanted to mention, as you mentioned prior to us hitting record, we are a third of the way through what is essentially the fourth quarter. So what are you doing? Are you closing more deals? This is the time of year everyone talks about deals being available. We've also got end of year kind of goal review and jamming up and getting ready for 2017, getting ready to crush that, getting lined that up. I realized through some reflection over this past weekend that I need to really do some evaluation coming into this last, take the entire month of December to really focus on where I want to head in 2017. And so it's a really important time of the year, I think, for us. And I just wanted to kind of light the fire a little bit there, kind of start stoking the embers and get everything going. So you have that nice roaring bonfire kind of coming into to 2017, man.
I like it. For a second there, I thought you were asking me, and it was kind of funny because I'm in a very good mood, but I made a note last night that said I've been neglecting my health, both physical and mental, in exchange for more money, that I have continued to restrict myself from spending to enjoy the fruits of my labor in pursuit of even more money. I wrote that down last night.
Ooh.
And so that was like one of the things talking about going into the fourth quarter and planning for 2017, because I have already started planning for 2017. So it was unique. And my guideline for what's going on for 2017 has really been, I went back through the 4-Hour Work Week. If you saw, I posted, I was rereading that again as one of my go-to refresher books, and just made another unique list of things I want to do. And then I looked at the things I want to do to figure out which of those things I can make income off of and how, and focus on doing that as opposed to doing deals or doing anything just for the sake of $1. So it was a unique reflective period the last couple weeks after getting back from Spain, jumping back into work and saying, what do I really want next year to look like? I mean, this year has been amazing. I mean, I've had a lot of gratitude for this year, a lot of growth. We've both had some amazing opportunities throughout the year. But it's also interesting that as much as we, to other people, even to friends, I think we projected, I've got some external friends that think everything's always easy and streamlined. And, sometimes what is it? You lose the trees for the woods or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Was it forest for the trees or something? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to Google it, whatever. But yeah, I think it's a good time to reflect on it and just look at, it's unique things we've talked about before about, saying no to people and just doing what you want to do and realizing that, you got to be happy for yourself before you be happy for other people.
Saying no is tough. I think that a lot of the people that listen to the show are, we get to have these conversations with a lot of really great people. The Wayne Snells, who have the 9-to-5 that's, even in his words, soul crushing. I'm not saying that's everyone's words, but it isn't necessarily the 2017, the 2018, the 1984 till 2014 they wanted to have. You know what I mean? And so it's being able to sit down and actually have those plans and getting something that you can execute against that's really important. And again, just like last year, you mentioned the neglected things. For me, it was health again neglected. And, sitting down and really reflecting on that, it's I don't know what it's going to take for me to get there, but that's going to be one of the main focuses for sure, kind of coming into the year, because it's brutal. It's brutal for me. So anyway,
we took a turn there for a second.
Yeah,
I think it's a good term because you know what? It's also kind of, and it feeds into. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I didn't mean to cut you off. I got a bunch of emails about the Earl Nightingale excerpt we did when I got back.
So much feedback on that. Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, like, I'm not running around depressed or unhappy. Like, I've just, the fact that this is where my new litmus test is. And I'm saying I can be happier. I can do more. I can be bigger. I can play larger. I can surround myself with happier people. It's kind of a funny thing. It's nothing negative. It's just always that pursuit of more or better, or curating your life a little better with those kind of things. What were you going to say though before I said that?
No, I was just going to say I got a ton of feedback on that as well, and it's nothing bad. It's just it's really weird. It's the it took a dark turn. I just got an email from one of our amazing vendors who said she wishes every phone call that she had with a client was as great as the phone call she just had with me. Now, that's not doting on me. It was just high energy and high octane, and I was getting her to laugh and have a good time. I'm not like sitting around depressed, like super sad about it. It's just I know that a certain portion of focus has just been lost on some areas. And so it's just really funny. You're like, took a bad turn. Oh, no, not like that, which is great because I know a lot of people like listen to our show while they're out kayaking or running trails or whatever. So it's like, oh man, these guys, they really got to focus on their health. This is good. I love that. Anything else for the people today, Mr. Woods?
Well, for the few people that are in Orlando, I am headed to Note School's Rich Rewards class this week. So what did I get? Let me pull this email. I won't give the address, but it is the 28th of October, 29th, and the 30th. Ooh, that's dangerous. I may be hungover on Saturday, huh? One of those days. One of those days is a good chance I'm going to have a headache and need some Tylenol.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're at the Rich Rewards, be sure to bring a to-go Bloody Mary for Mr. Woods. That would be much appreciated, I'm sure. We'll have a link, I assume, in the show notes for that. We don't have any affiliation or any such things, but if it's something that you've been looking at or you want to, we'll just put the link for Note School in there. There's no kickback coming. Yeah. It would definitely be great to, have a sidekick for Mr. Woods at this event. I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah, and then doesn't Note Expo is coming up on the 5th?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. It's looking like it's going to be just as big as it was last year, if not bigger. And we got an opportunity to meet some amazing people out there. We actually got a chance to interview after the event Darren Bloomquist. So I don't know if he's going to be back out there, but it was a great time out there at Node Expo last year.
The 4th to the 5th in Fort Worth, Texas. So if you haven't registered, you guys can still get registered on the website. I've been seeing a bunch of things. I know the pricing went up because, I know they've got more people than last year from conversations that I've had with certain people.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're like me, I have a conflicting event on my calendar, so I have not committed to going, but me ever committing to travel more than a week in advance is probably maybe a 2 or 3 times a year occasion.
Yes, I actually have 2 conflicting events, so unfortunately this year I will not be attending either. We've gotten some emails about it, so we just want to get it out there.
Yeah, perfect, man.
I love it. Very cool.
What else we got? I think we went through everything.
I think we nailed it. We nailed it down. Next week's episode, I am looking forward to very much. I'm very much so looking forward to that. I think I have an idea. I want to run by Mr. Woods. We'll see if it pans out for the audience. We'll see what happens. But I'm very excited about next week. Let's do it up. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to listen to this week's episode. If this is your first time here, be sure to head over to iTunes, give us a rating, a review, and, of course, subscribe. As always, everything we talked about will be in the show notes over at NoteMBA.com. And remember, be sure to tell 5 other people you know this week about the Note MBA podcast. We'll catch you guys next week.
Take it easy, guys. Have a great week.